Honda just did something it almost never does. It dropped a brand new machine without the usual hype, leaks, or marketing circus. No teaser shots, no influencer previews, just a quiet reveal that immediately had rival brands paying attention. At first glance, it looks familiar. The kind of bike that brings back memories from a time when motorcycles were simple, honest, and built to last. But this isn't nostalgia for nostalgia's sake. There's a reason this release matters right now. Tonight, we're breaking down why this surprise reveal has the industry watching closely, and why it could change what riders expect from modern motorcycles going forward. The unexpected reveal at EICMA. The new Honda CB1000F did not arrive with a long runway of teasers or slow marketing drips. It appeared at the EICMA show with almost no warning, rolling into the spotlight, as though the company wanted the reveal to stand on its own. The moment it entered the hall, conversation stopped, cameras lifted, and the atmosphere shifted in a way that only a true surprise can manage. There was no dramatic narration or elaborate build-up, just a machine stepping forward and letting the room decide how to react. The surprise felt deliberate. Honda is known for careful pacing, yet this unveiling carried a different tone, as if the company chose silence to heighten the effect. The CB1000F sat beneath the lights with a calm, confident posture, not demanding attention but commanding it all the same. People leaned in, trying to decide whether they were seeing a callback to earlier decades or the first step of something new. The lack of advance hints added weight to the moment, making the reveal feel stripped of marketing noise and shaped entirely by presence. Most reveals rely on spectacle, but this one relied on clarity. Riders and industry staff realized they were witnessing a shift, not a routine model update. The CB1000F made its statement without a single spoken line, and with that statement made, attention turned toward its design. The silence around the reveal wasn't accidental. It was meant to focus attention on one thing alone. Once the surprise passed, eyes moved to the shape itself, styling that reaches back while standing on its own. The CB1000F carries lines that connect instantly to the era of the CB750F and CB900F, yet it avoids feeling like a reproduction. The tank shows broad, steady shoulders, giving the motorcycle a grounded presence before a single detail is examined. The side panels follow a clean, minimalist path, avoiding distractions and letting the silhouette do the talking. From a distance, the form stays unmistakable, the kind of outline that feels familiar even before the name is known. Up close, the restraint becomes clearer. Many modern designs lean into sharp angles or busy surfaces, but this motorcycle keeps the language simple. The stance remains balanced from tank to tail, honoring the proportions that made earlier standards so recognizable. Nothing about the CB1000F shouts for attention, yet everything about it invites a second look. It manages to give a respectful nod to earlier decades without imitating their exact shapes, creating a blend of heritage and intention. The design suggests longevity, not trend chasing. It feels built to hold its identity through years of ownership, the way older standards earned their place through honest lines rather than forced flair. The styling carries history without being trapped by it, and that mix gave early viewers something solid to appreciate. With the form understood, the next point of interest became the cost of entry. Once the styling settled in, focus shifted naturally to the price tag. If this breakdown is helping you stay ahead of the story, make sure you like the video and subscribe for the next update. Share your thoughts as we move forward, because rider insight shapes where this conversation goes next. A price that redraws the retro market. The starting figure of £10,599 immediately changed the tone of the discussion around the CB1000F. Pricing often shapes perception before performance or specifications ever enter the conversation, and this number carried a message stronger than any marketing claim could deliver. It placed the motorcycle noticeably below what many expect in a retro-inspired large capacity class, and that placement signaled intent from the moment it was announced. This was not a stripped model positioned to appear affordable. It was a deliberate statement about the value Honda chose to attach to the machine. The figure showed discipline, not compromise, and the reaction inside the industry reflected that understanding. Pricing influences how a motorcycle is framed long before riders see one in motion, and this price drew a clean, confident line in a segment where costs often climb higher with each new release. By entering at this level, Honda did more than offer a competitive number. It reset expectations for what a modern retro machine can cost without sacrificing presence or purpose. That shift forces a re-evaluation of how models in this space justify their asking price, and it prepares the ground for broader changes within the category. With the economic signal delivered, the question shifted toward the intention behind the model itself. The price wasn't aggressive by accident. It reflected a deeper decision made long before the unveil. To understand that choice, you have to understand intent, why Honda built it, inside Haramoto's vision. Takayuki, Haramoto described the CB1000F not as a revival piece or a nostalgic tribute, but as a model shaped by specific goals for the present. His explanation focused on creating a motorcycle that could draw from earlier influences without relying on imitation. The team wanted a machine that carried the spirit of the CB750F and CB900F era, while establishing a standard that fits today's expectations. That purpose guided the posture, the simplicity, and the overall feel. Haramoto emphasized balance over excess. Rather than chasing aggressive silhouettes or technical flash, the design leaned into clarity. The intention was to offer a machine that felt approachable while still carrying a sense of identity rooted in recognizable history. His comments made it clear that the project aimed to introduce fresh attention to the upper capacity space, without forcing riders to choose between heritage and function. The design language worked as a bridge, not a replica. This direction reveals a thoughtful strategy rather than a nostalgic impulse. By shaping a motorcycle that respects earlier decades while focusing on present-day utility and presence, Honda positioned the CB1000F as a meaningful step rather than a one-off experiment. Haramoto's perspective showed that the model plays a role in a broader plan for Honda's future. With that motive defined, the foundation of the machine becomes the next one of the story. Vision explains direction. Architecture explains commitment. What Honda chose beneath the design reveals how serious this move really is. Moves like this reset more than lineups. They reset how we ride. You'll find the gear that keeps things simple in the description. The Hornet lineage, a proven foundation. The CB1000F begins with a platform introduced in 2025, the CB1000 Hornet, a structure already known for balance and durability. Honda did not attempt to reinvent the core architecture. Instead, the company leaned on a foundation that had already shown reliability and consistency under varied conditions. This choice reflects a familiar pattern in Honda's engineering philosophy: trust what works, refine what needs attention, and avoid unnecessary complication. Using the Hornet platform gave the CB1000F a stable backbone from the start. By choosing a proven base, the engineering team ensured that the motorcycle would not struggle with early developmental quirks or unpredictable characteristics. The frame geometry, weight distribution, and general mechanical layout were already understood, giving Honda freedom to focus on shaping a different identity around a trusted heart. This approach also made it possible to maintain predictable behavior without sacrificing the feel of a larger, more grounded machine. Riders who have spent time with the Hornet lineup would immediately recognize the familiar steadiness. Honda often evolves rather than replaces, and this model follows that pattern. The CB1000F stands on a structure seasoned through real-world use, not theoretical adjustments. That decision gives the motorcycle a practical, lived-in sense of stability before any styling or tuning enters the discussion. With the foundation established, attention naturally shifts toward how the engine delivers its power. A trusted foundation sets expectations. How the engine behaves determines whether those expectations hold. The character here was shaped deliberately, power delivery with intent, smooth over snappy. The CB1000F produces 122 brake horsepower, yet the character of the engine is not defined by peak figures. Honda shaped the delivery to rise with intention rather than strike with abrupt force. This tuning philosophy gives the motorcycle a sense of buildup, a motion that grows steadily as the revs climb. It does not snap forward at the first twist of the wrist. Instead, it responds with a measured flow that keeps the rider aware of the engine's progression from idle to peak. The torque curve supports this philosophy. It delivers early, steady pull without the sharp surge of aggressive tuning. Honda shaped the engine for predictable transitions, letting the rider settle into a consistent rhythm. The power band feels conversational rather than abrupt, and that measured character defines the motorcycle's overall personality. This design choice emphasizes control and clarity. clarity. The engine never feels muted, but it also never overwhelms with sudden leaps. It supports riders who prefer a sense of connection throughout the full sweep of the rev range, not just at specific peaks. That deliberate smoothness creates space for the next element of the machine to stand out, the sound that shapes each moment of acceleration. Power tells one story, sound tells another. Honda paid close attention to how this machine speaks, the pulse, sound engineering with purpose. Honda engineered the CB1000F with unequal intake funnel lengths, a decision that shapes the tone in a very intentional way. The result is a low, pulsing character that rises with depth rather than sharpness. This is not a harsh or metallic sound. Instead, it carries a steady heartbeat-like rhythm that blends modern smoothness with a hint of old standard resonance. The uneven funnels create a subtle stagger in the intake pulses, giving the engine note its signature feel without resorting to artificial enhancement. As the revs climb, the sound evolves from a gentle thrum into a fuller, more pronounced growl. The tonal shift feels natural, not forced, the kind of progression that mirrors the engine's measured power delivery. The character of the sound encourages a deliberate pace, allowing the rider to hear and sense each stage of the climb. It becomes part of the communication between machine and operator, offering feedback that is as emotional as it is functional. Honda aimed for a note that feels alive without losing refinement. The tone remains composed even when stressed, avoiding the brittle edge that can appear when intake systems are tuned for sharp aggression. This balance makes the sound an integral part of the experience rather than an afterthought or decorative feature. With the engine's voice understood, the final step is recognizing the intention behind the styling language that links past and present. The voice feels modern, the shape feels familiar. That combination raises a larger question about what Honda is preserving: a heritage bridge, keeping familiar lines alive. Honda has explained that the CB1000F uses familiar visual cues not to recreate earlier decades, but to maintain a recognizable lineage across generations. The design does not aim to transport riders backward. Instead, it seeks to preserve shapes that have come to represent clarity and simplicity in the company's history. The tank, the panels, and the overall stance reflect an understanding that certain lines carry meaning beyond appearance alone. These elements connect modern engineering to earlier standards without imposing nostalgia as the main purpose. This approach creates continuity. The motorcycle acknowledges the forms that defined Honda's earlier era, while presenting them through a cleaner and more focused lens. The lines remain simple, the proportions balanced, and the posture grounded. Yet everything is interpreted through contemporary construction techniques, giving the CB1000F both familiarity and freshness. This is not a retro exercise, but a continuation of a visual language that has proven enduring across decades of production. Honda's stated intention was to allow these familiar shapes to guide new riders into an appreciation of the company's past without requiring them to experience it firsthand. The motorcycle becomes a bridge, linking historical influence with current expectations. This perspective reveals how the design supports the broader identity of the CB1000F. With that connection understood, the foundation is set for examining how this lineage informs the next stage of the motorcycle's development. With the heritage link established, the discussion moved onward to the wider impact beyond the machine itself. How rivals respond behind closed doors. Inside the industry, reactions to the CB1000F reveal did not unfold in public statements or press releases. They surfaced through quiet adjustments, internal conversations, and rapid evaluations of existing product plans. Manufacturers that operate in the retro space watched the unveiling closely, not because of any single feature, but because the timing and execution challenged assumptions about how this segment moves. The reveal arrived with enough presence to force a recalibration inside design and strategy teams across several brands. Manufacturers with retro models quickly reassessed their development plans. Some questioned whether upcoming designs offered enough distinction, while others considered how their current bikes would hold attention once the CB1000F arrived. There was no panic, only acknowledgement that the reveal signaled a shift, demanding careful, deliberate adjustment across teams. The reaction behind closed doors showed that Honda's new entry created momentum without a campaign built on competition. By choosing restraint and clarity, Honda forced its rivals to examine where their own strategies might appear overly complicated or overly dependent on familiar formulas. With the internal evaluations underway, attention turned toward another element that lingered just outside the main announcement. The visible reaction is only part of the story. Something else began influencing speculation quietly in the background. The CB500 SF factor, a quiet variable in the background. The CB500 SF has not been confirmed for broader markets, yet its appearance in earlier exhibitions introduced a subtle but meaningful variable into the conversation. The motorcycle demonstrated Honda's interest in a smaller four-cylinder platform that could complement the larger CB1000F without overlapping its purpose. Its existence hinted at a future where riders might see a coordinated lineup built around shared design cues, but separate displacement roles. Even without official announcements, this possibility influenced how some analysts interpreted Honda's long-term direction. A mid-range four-cylinder option reshapes the strategic landscape by adding depth without relying on traditional entry-level framing. A 500-class machine carrying similar design cues could bridge categories and expand Honda's reach inside the retro space. If the CB500SF enters wider markets, it may extend the family's appeal without competing with the CB1000F. Together, they create anticipation about Honda's next steps, sharpening focus on how this potential expansion influences the broader retro segment. If you want the next chapter of this unfolding story the moment it hits, make sure you subscribe now. The updates around this release are accelerating fast, and staying connected is the only way to keep the full picture in view. Cracking the retro premium. A market model under strain. For years, retro-inspired motorcycles have carried a premium justified by branding, heritage framing, and the assumption that buyers sought emotional value as much as mechanical function. The CB1000F disrupts this pattern by presenting a machine built on clean design fundamentals rather than elaborate nostalgia packaging. Its arrival challenges the long-standing belief that retro models must command elevated pricing or lean heavily on decorative elements to justify their place. The structure of the segment now appears less rigid than before. When a motorcycle arrives with a measured approach, it draws attention to the parts of the market that rely on narrative rather than substance. Industry analysts, observing the CB1000F, began re-examining how other models in this space define their identity. The shift is not about competition. It is about the integrity of the segment's long-term foundation. If a new entry demonstrates that retro styling does not require inflated positioning, the entire category must reconcile with that reality. The assumptions that shaped earlier releases now face pressure to adapt. This disruption places weight on product planning cycles, presenting challenges for brands accustomed to relying on consistent patterns. They must now consider how restraint can outperform excess, and how clarity can outperform manufactured nostalgia. The arrival of the CB1000F signals that the market may be more flexible than previously believed. With these pressures unfolding across the segment, the next area to show movement is the dealership floor. As the broader market absorbs these shifts, real-world behavior inside showrooms begins to tell its own story. Dealer reality. What early traffic and orders show. Dealerships often reflect industry changes before official data appears, and early activity around the CB1000F supports that pattern. Staff at multiple locations report increased inquiries from riders interested in understanding how the motorcycle fits into the current landscape. The attention is not driven by spectacle or promotional push. It comes from genuine curiosity about a model that steps into the retro space with simplicity and purpose. Visitors studying the machine focus on its proportions, its stance, and the overall impression it leaves when viewed in person. Showroom traffic has risen steadily, with walk-ins asking to see the motorcycle or requesting arrival updates. Many dealerships are adjusting display plans, and parts departments expect early accessory demand since riders often personalize clean platforms. This engagement suggests the CB1000F may attract consistent interest without aggressive promotion. Behind the counter, staff notice a quieter, more deliberate anticipation. Riders want to see how the motorcycle feels in person and how it fits within Honda's broader direction. This measured curiosity mirrors the machine's character. With these early signals forming, attention turns to how such shifts influence the wider industry landscape. Local interest creates momentum. Global response confirms it. The effects didn't stop at national borders. Global pressure, a pricing move, felt worldwide. The arrival of the CB1000F created ripples that extended far beyond its home market. Manufacturers across Europe and Asia began reassessing their own strategies as they watched how the model positioned itself. Even without emphasizing cost in broader discussions, the placement of the motorcycle influenced how companies interpreted demand across international markets. It signaled that measured restraint in design and capability could still hold strong appeal in regions where competition remains intense. The shift encouraged brands to revisit assumptions about what riders consider essential in a modern standard motorcycle. Supply chains also noted the approach. A motorcycle built on proven architecture eases pressure on complex sourcing and stabilizes planning in regions affected by material volatility. The CB1000F showed that refinement and dependable construction can hold global relevance without constant reinvention, appealing strongly in markets prioritizing operational efficiency. Some international manufacturers began rethinking their upcoming models, not to imitate, but to acknowledge how a grounded, clearly defined motorcycle can reset expectations across markets. The CB1000F created a global ripple, showing how one well-timed release can redirect industry movement. From there, cultural implications begin to surface. Market shifts explain behavior. Culture explains why that behavior sticks. The rise of modern retro as a cultural marker. Retro-inspired motorcycles have increasingly become expressions of personal identity rather than mere stylistic preferences. The modern retro movement blends appreciation for mechanical honesty with a desire for designs that feel grounded and purposeful. These machines offer a sense of connection that transcends technical details, acting as symbols of craftsmanship in an era shaped by rapid change. The CB1000F fits neatly into this evolving cultural landscape, not through nostalgia, but through familiarity expressed with intention. Across different riding communities, the appeal of a clear and unforced design language continues to grow. Riders often gravitate toward motorcycles that appear timeless rather than trendy, preferring lines that feel steady and enduring. This shift reflects a broader cultural desire to rediscover objects that carry meaning beyond surface-level flourish. The CB1000F reinforces this momentum by presenting a balanced form that embodies mechanical dignity without relying on exaggerated cues. Its presence contributes to the wider conversation about authenticity in modern product design. As interest in modern retro machines expands, they increasingly serve as markers of how people choose to express themselves on the road. Their visual restraint and mechanical straightforwardness communicate confidence without excess. The cultural role of such motorcycles stretches beyond their functional purpose, reaching into themes of continuity and identity. These trends shape how manufacturers read the future of motorcycling as a cultural practice. With these cultural layers defined, the discussion moves toward how regulators interpret the segment's trajectory. Cultural momentum rarely stays invisible. Eventually, institutions start paying attention. Policy eyes on the growing segment. Regulatory agencies observe market changes carefully, and the rise of retro-influenced motorcycles has prompted renewed interest in how these machines align with long-term policy goals. While the segment does not directly challenge environmental or safety frameworks, its expansion intersects with broader discussions about emission standards, displacement categories, and product life cycles. Agencies in several regions monitor how manufacturers balance heritage-inspired aesthetics with modern compliance requirements. The CB1000F, as part of this wave, becomes a reference point for policymakers, reviewing how traditional forms adapt to contemporary expectations. These evaluations are not about retro aesthetics, but about maintaining consistency under tightening environmental standards. Upright proportions and exposed components affect airflow and heat control, prompting regulators to watch how manufacturers adapt. The CB1000F shows that simplicity can coexist with full compliance as expectations continue to evolve. This attention is not negative pressure, but recognition that the segment holds increasing influence. Policymakers now factor its growth into long-term regulatory planning, ensuring it aligns with broader sustainability goals. With this balanced oversight in place, the remaining question becomes the CB1000F's broader meaning within motorcycling's future direction. Regulation measures growth, legacy defines meaning. The final question is what this motorcycle represents over time. A shift in the era. What the CB1000F represents long-term. The CB1000F does not signal a shift because it recreates elements of the past. It marks a turning point because it combines familiar lines with modern intent in a way that feels natural rather than forced. This balance between continuity and progression represents a broader movement within motorcycling. The search for machines that feel grounded while still fitting inside the rhythms of present-day riding. The CB1000F embodies that direction, showing that a motorcycle can carry history forward without relying on nostalgia as its main identity. The CB1000F alters expectations by proving that clarity and purpose can influence the future as strongly as technological leaps. Its measured refinement shows that evolution often outperforms disruption, giving motorcycles an identity shaped by intent rather than complexity. In the long view, it suggests a balanced path forward, one that preserves familiar forms while guiding modern development responsibly. As manufacturers absorb its example, the horizon shifts from simple observation to genuine anticipation for what the next era may bring. The CB1000F reminds us that real progress does not always shout. Sometimes it arrives with purpose, clarity, and confidence. As this story continues to unfold, stay sharp and stay connected. The next in motorcycling's future is already forming on the horizon, and it deserves your attention.